why should I pay you as an engineer? Why should I have an engineer in my project, especially for a construction project? Why would I go the extra mile of ensuring that I get a professional, or rather qualified? Is it really true that you guys actually inflate the cost of the projects? Hello and welcome to Kakaan Design Talks. Today we are going to have a very interesting guest. We are excited to have our first guest, who is going to be Solomon Ngari. He's going to tell us more about himself. He's a structural engineer. We are excited to be having him with us in our talk show so that we can discuss quite a number of issues that are affecting us in the built environment and how he comes in and the roles he plays to help put together your project and help make sure that your project is steady and you're able to make the best out of your project. Welcome, Solomon.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So just to start, maybe you can introduce yourself, who you are, what you do.
Yes. My name is Engineer Solomon Ngari. I am a civil structural engineer, majorly doing anything to do with structures, civil works, and any water, all that. That is what I do on a day-to-day. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned both structures and water.
Yeah.
Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on where these two intersect.
It is important to understand that the civil side is quite broad. There's the structural side. This is the normal buildings. I'll just keep it very simple for our viewers. That is the normal buildings, your normal house, typical house, be it a bungalow, be it a mansionette. That is the structural side. Civil is to do with driveways, roads, drainages, let's say stormwater drainage, as well as sewerage. Water is a whole different also field. It's to do with supply of water. It's what majorly Nairobi Water does. But we have private companies that also offer the services for private developers. So that is basically the various fields of the civil engineering side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Maybe you can also share with us what one needs to do to be qualified as a structural or civil engineer.
That's a very important question because I have, from my practice, that's a very big gap I see with many clients. So for an engineer, first you have to go to school. I think that's a basic requirement. You do a 5-year course. The course has to be accredited. The board regulating engineers is called EBK. So once you graduate, you're supposed to apply for a graduate engineering, or you're supposed to apply as a graduate engineer. That's the first level of that's the first level you get to. So you will practice as a graduate engineer for 3 years. That's the requirement. That's the normal process. So for 3 years you are a graduate engineer, and while you are a graduate engineer, you're supposed to be supervised by a professional registered engineer. Once you finish your 3 years is when you apply for registration as a professional engineer. So after 3 years, you apply to the board. So right now what happens is there is a pre-submission conference. It's more to do with being advised how you're supposed to put together your documents, how you're supposed to present yourself, and what you've done. And what is gauged in that process is, have you done enough work? Have you gathered enough experience? Then after that, you go and do your exams. There's the oral part and there's the written exam. And then once you pass, then you can use the title engineer. Not anybody can use that title engineer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very detailed. To mean you guys actually go through a very rigorous training from college, where you do at least 5 years. Then you actually go through what probably for the lawyers they'd call pupillage, where you're under a trained engineer for another 3 years. Then after that is when you can apply to do the examination, and only after passing is when you can be called an engineer. Yes. So does that mean that all these people we find on site, someone who does steel fixing and maybe even fixes toilets for,
Yes.
for lack of a better example.
Any food is an engineer nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are they okay? Is it right for them to call themselves engineer, or it's just a pass we give them? Or it's also them just looking up to something that they would wish they were?
Yes, it is good to have dreams and to look forward to something, but by law, that title engineer, you have to be duly registered by the board. So as you have asked, not everybody can use that title. And I think it is very important to say that not anybody can use the title engineer, and not anybody can use title architect or QS, because there are all these other trades in our industry. And let me just give a small illustration of something that happened in something I have gone through actually just yesterday.
Sure.
So this client living abroad, he wants to do a house. So he approaches somebody who says they will offer the services. This person presents himself as an architect. So they do drawings, bring another person on board, an engineer in quotes. They do drawings are submitted, approved. But now the issue came in once they had done, they had built for a while. Somebody came along and said, that name on your board, I have not authorized my name to be used on your board. So that's a typical example of what happens on a day-to-day. I think the general public are not aware that not everybody is an engineer. And I think also the value proposition of what we do, which I think is what we are trying to do through these conversations, to try and let people know why you should go to an engineer. Why should you pay for services of an engineer or for an architect? Those are very serious conversations that we should have, and I'm happy to be here.
In fact, thank you. You've brought me just right to the next question. Why should I pay you as an engineer? Why should I have an engineer in my project, especially for a construction project? Why would I go the extra mile of ensuring that I get a professional, or rather a qualified or certified engineer, as an engineer registered by the board to actually undertake my projects?
Yeah. The first thing is this person is qualified. That's the basic reason why you should go to a person who is duly registered by the engineer. And the reason registration happens is to gauge the person in terms of their qualifications. So that's the basic item. The second item, which I think escapes many clients, is if you go to an engineer, they will optimize your project safely, So you might get a guy, let me just call him a fundi on site, who will tell you, let's use T12 here, and not T16, saying in terms of bars, the sizes of bars.
Oh yeah, we hear you guys talk about T, Y.
Yes.
I want to believe maybe these are the sizes of the steel.
Sizes of the steel. Okay. So that person who will tell you, let's use this, they are speculating and assuming, and partly also leaning towards the experience. But when you approach an engineer, he will give you the right sizes of members, the right sizes of steel, the right positioning of members based on a calculation. Or based
members, are you talking about people? Or
that's a good question, because okay, by members I'm saying structural members, if it is a structural element. If it is a sewerage line, he will size the sewerage pipe, let's say.
So for sewerage it will be pipes, and for, let's say, for the roofing it will be the trusses,
timber,
and for the reinforced slab it will be probably steel, and see also the concrete. I'm just helping break down so that someone who doesn't understand is wondering, why are people coming in members?
So the engineer will use a scientific process to size all these elements. So when he tells you buy this, you will be sure that your structure will be safe for occupancy. So that's the basic reason why you should go to to a registered guy. Yeah, and another thing, you will get approvals that you require. Not just anybody can submit documents to, let's say, county. Not just anybody can give technical drawings by law. So a registered guy will help you get the necessary permits.
Okay. Yeah, you've also mentioned about giving you the right steel members. One question that, or rather one bit that actually part of information that I usually hear outside is that we got a registered engineer and the steel that they're giving us were costing our building too much. We don't want that. Our fundi was able to downsize it, and now at least the costs are not too high. So we get a lot of cost-related complaints when it comes to involving engineers on site, especially, of course, for smaller projects where most clients probably don't understand the importance of this. Is it really true that you guys actually inflate the cost of the projects by proposing and designing members that are too expensive for people to afford?
Let me go even before all that. You have to. I think it's important for clients to understand that even by our trades, we are doing businesses. So normally, how you approach a project, first you have to bill for that project. And the reason why we bill is because we spend time to design. So that's the first issue that we get is, why are you billing this much? Cost does not always start when you're building. It's when you're designing. So the reason why we bill, it's because we had spent time to design.
And even to go to school.
Yes, and you actually went to school.
Yeah, which is work. People believe that school is not work, and we've had quite a lot of statements. People say that ni masomo tu, but actually school is actually work.
It's work, and you spend time. So you're spending time, and another thing that is there is you're giving value. You know, school, that is us, but you're giving value to your client, and value in that, once you give a certain design, that will be safe. We've had stories of building collapsing, and the reason why that happens is because either a design was not followed, whether the building was not properly supervised. So you're giving value. That's the first reason why we build. Now, to answer your question directly, why I know that question of why are we using this much steel? I was actually in a site in Kiambu where a client, the drawing had shown 25 diameter bar, but he didn't want to buy 25 diameter bar.
Because it was costly.
It was costly, you know. But they forget it is based on a design. So I think that's the answer to your question. That whatever we provide is based on a design. But there's also something else that I think your basic client should understand. If you don't pay your consultants properly, they will not spend enough time on your project. So you will find they will only provide you with details enough to ensure that your project is safe. They won't go to the next step of optimizing it. I don't know whether
so what do you mean by optimization of a project?
Yes.
Or especially, particularly in this scenario?
By optimization, I mean, let's say you're looking at where we are. You will find there's one area that is bigger. I am trying not to be very technical.
Yeah.
Let's say one supporting member is long, so you will get whatever requirement in terms of steel is high.
Okay.
You know, but you might find another place, whatever supporting member is there, and my member is being I don't know. We talked about members before.
Yeah.
That supporting member is shorter.
It's shorter.
So you'd expect the steel to be shorter. So if you're not paid enough, of course it's a business. You don't want to spend more time than you have been paid. So you'll design for the critical member and apply the same reinforcement for the less critical member. You understand? Such that you're using more steel, you know, for places where you should not be using it. So you see, it goes back to how we build.
How you build.
Yes. Okay. So that's why I wanted to connect those two
So Solomon is saying that we need to pay your consultants, pay as
Yes.
well, so that you
Yes,
can
and
make
you'll
sure at
get
least
value.
you'll get value. To mean
Yes.
eventually, if you do the proper optimization of the project, you are
Yes.
able to save
Yes.
also eventually on site,
Yes. Yes.
and probably,
Yes.
yeah, I think that would work well. Yeah. One other question that I'd want to ask you is, in your with your experience, which are some of the most challenging projects that you've worked on? Probably just one, and why was it so?
Okay, let me some residentials are challenging. And I'll say this is not the lower cadre residentials, it's the higher cadre client, because they will want these long cantilevers, overlooking a certain view. So those are the challenging projects in terms of the residential parts. Others are maybe churches, because churches now have they want
The spans.
view spans and all that. Churches, I think I would say, are quite challenging because of those, whatever you need to consider. Yes, the rest, I think, due to the number of years, maybe they will be challenging for a beginner, but yeah, churches now are, I think, the challenging bits in terms of design.
Okay. Then one other question I'd want to find out: what is the most common question that you get from clients, especially when you interact with them on the first time or second time? What are some of the most common questions that you get from them?
The question I get is, first is time. They don't understand why do you say you want 2 weeks, and I think they have seen it's just line work.
Yes.
I think the assumption is you
You just
click.
draw. Or nowadays with the computers, you're told this
Yeah.
one you just go and click on the computer.
And then
It's
it
like
comes
AI.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the first thing. It's time. And I think the other question is cost. Cost, I think, is a very big factor nowadays. So those are the two first basic questions. That the others are normal, like soils. Can we get this beam out of this space? Those come later. But I think the beginning is cost and time. Because when will we get these drawings, or when will we get submissions done? So that's why I say time and cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned soil, and I'd ask, when a client approaches you, they can either approach you directly or through an architect like myself. What would be your process of engagement or design, just to help with the project?
For us engineers, there are two ways you can get a project. The first one is through architects, and I think that's a big portion of how we get our own projects. And the reason why is because I'm saying you because I know you are an architect. It's because you build the concept. So we get it from you. So once you approach me, you'll first start with a contract. I know not many people want to do that, but I think it's important, because if you have a contract in place, if something is not met, you can easily get compensation. So if an engineer does not perform, you can get compensated as per contract terms. So get a contract first. Then after the contract, you'll get the brief. Of course, if it's an architect, they'll give you drawings. If it is a client, if you go to the client directly, you'll get the brief. I want, maybe, let's say, a house with this many bedrooms, with this many rooms. Once you get the brief, then from there is agree on time. Agree on time in terms of when can we first get this stage out, get the approvals out, agree on a timeline of some sort. It can also get into the contract as well. Then once you get those in, now it's the design part. So you get the drawings out, design part, whatever back and forth you need to do, depending on the size of project and the type of project.
Averagely, for a mansionette, how long would you take? For different engineers that answer differently, maybe for yourself?
I think I put in quite a bit of work. Personally, minimum 1 week. I know that people who do it less. I like to put in a bit of work. So minimum 1 week to around 2 weeks.
Okay.
But it can be more if it is a complex. It depends on the complexity.
Okay, I was expecting to hear 2 weeks. So 1 week is rather a very fast turnaround time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very good. Earlier on, we mentioned at times clients expecting fast turnaround time by just you clicking and producing the drawings. How do you think AI is going to impact on in your industry?
Let me first start by saying it's. I think it's early on. Not much has been done, especially locally in Kenya. I don't think much has been done on that front in terms of AI. But I think going forward, it will ease in design process such that you don't have to do maybe design of something every so often. You can put in the parameters you want and it will do it automatically. You don't have to draw line by line. You can easily put the parameters you want and it will generate. So all you need to do is check. So I think that is what will come out. Something else that AI will help is the supervision part, such that you can scan on site. I think I saw something with BAM. Scan on site, and then you can send to somebody in an office, and then they can put it in the 3D model and check through if there are issues. So those are some of the things that I think AI will come and help. It will ease in the process of what we do on a day-to-day.
Thank you. Maybe that's very good to hear. I see we didn't want to make we didn't want to have a session that's too long. This is just an introductory session. Maybe next time we can have a longer session. Do you have a question for myself before we sign out?
I think not really a question, but I think a comment. I think these conversations is very commendable. We don't have enough conversations as an industry where you can get laymen getting, insiders view of the issues that affect the industry. So I think it is important. I think I would say keep doing it.
Thank you very much. You'll also, maybe you can share with us your social media handles. I know you do a lot of posts on your projects that you're handling, just to share the information so that you can ensure that the next person doesn't have to go through or struggle, especially with challenges that you've already experienced. I've seen your videos on Instagram, on TikTok. Maybe you can share with us a couple of your handles so that our viewers might be able to just go there and maybe follow you. And if they have a question, or if they want to get you to be part of their project, they can reach out to you. Maybe your social media handles and also probably also your direct email.
Okay. So my social media is very easy. It's Solomon Ngari, or Facebook, Instagram, X, Solomon Ngari. Email, you can get me at engineeredbysolomon@gmail.com. I also have a website, engineeredbysolomon.com. So that is how you can reach me.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Solomon. I'm very grateful. Thank you for honoring this invite and blessing us with wisdom. We hopefully next time also when you come, I know you're going to be part of this series so that we can try and discuss more about what affects the various players in the industry, how we can sort out some of these problems, and just see how far we can go with this. Thank you very much, and I think you're welcome back, and we hope you can subscribe and also like our videos at Kakaan Build Talks. Thank you very much.